What's going on, everybody? Adam here with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Swagman Quad 2+2 bike rack. This is going to be a bike rack that gives you guys a lot of options. You guys can either have it in the 4-bike configuration here, or we can take off the extension here. So we're going to be able to also just carry 2 bikes to and fro. So if you guys really just rather have 2 bikes sometimes, but sometimes you guys need 4 bikes, this one's going to be able to do both. And if you guys have a motorhome, we can put those in the back of the motorhome as well, both in the 4 and the 2 bike configuration. It's going to be great just because it has all those features that I like and look for in a bike rack. So let's go ahead and show you guys exactly what this bike rack offers. If you have some carbon fiber bikes, this probably isn't the best bike rack that you guys can pick from in our inventory. Honestly, with the frame hook that we have here, yes, it is padded, but when it comes to the carbon fiber frame bikes, we really don't like to put that frame hook on those bikes. It might void your warranty or make some sort of damage. We don't necessarily want that. So let's just go ahead and take this bike off the rack. It really is simple. This is an aluminum framed bike, so it's going to be just fine. All we're going to do is just click in these little hooks here. And I kind of like these just because they do have a locking core in them pre-installed. You don't have to buy anything to lock your bikes to the rack, and that will be key to like with our anti-rattle bolt down low. But we'll get that later. And we can kind of just hang them out somewhere whenever we're not using them. And then we'll come down here. We have a little wheel cradle here. Press in this little tab, fold this up, take it out. I like it just because it is thinking about your guys' wheels as well. I love that. Just because we like to keep it as nice as we can. We're going to have the same exact thing around back here. And that is pretty much it. Now we can go ahead and take the bike off the rack. And we'll get a closer look at what's going on. As of right now, with these wheel cradles out of the box, they are going to be made of metal, which I really like. It's made of aluminum and it has a nice powder coated finish along with the rest of the bike rack. But what I really like about this is if you guys have some kiddos that you guys are going with, something like that, we'll be able to adjust these cradles to be able to accommodate for those smaller bikes that you guys may have. So whatever type of bikes you have, we're going to be able to adjust it and fit them, get them nice and tight on the rack. You guys can go on your way. Other than that, that's pretty much it, and it pretty much goes the same features as we go deeper into the bike rack. But as we start unloading bikes farther in, it gets a little bit more difficult. So let's go ahead and take this one off. Pretty much same exact deal. But like I said, it's a little bit more difficult to get around your wheels, and your pedals, stuff like that. And usually what I would want to do is pull in this little tab and fold down this center mast, but with our little pedal here, we're not really able to do that. You guys might be able to kind of see this coming and adjust the pedals of your bike before you guys load up, but that is something that you can just do to prevent this issue from happening. But at the end of the day, you're just getting the 4 bikes to and from wherever you guys are going. And that's all we're really looking for. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than usual just because I can't really lower that center mast. But it still comes off rather nicely. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Pull this in. This folds down really nicely, locks into place, and I like that. Sometimes I put these in the back of my car. You don't have to. We can go ahead and just put these back on if we really needed to. But always put the longer frame hook on first, just because it has to move a little bit more to be able to hook on. So other than that, that's pretty much the add-on to the Swagman Quad 2+2. All we really need to do is take a tool that is included with our kit, and there's a couple bolts that we have to undo to take this whole section off. But before we do that, I'm just going to go over some measurements with you guys. The wheel cradles that come with the Quad 2+2 are going to have limitations of wheels less than 3 inches in width. If you guys have some fat tire bikes, all you have to do is just go on our website and purchase separately some bigger cradles to be able to fit those bigger size tires. With our 4 bike configuration all attached, we are going to add a significant amount of length to the back of our vehicle compared to just the 2 bike configuration. So let me go ahead and measure from the center of the hitch pin hole all the way to the outermost point. It's going to be about 53 inches. That's quite a lot. And let's measure at that 53-inch point how much ground clearance we have. It's about 18 inches. If you plan on going up some steep driveways, maybe there's a couple potholes and stuff, whenever you guys are going down the road, just be mindful that you guys aren't going to hit anything too aggressive to bottom that out. Now let's go ahead and see what it looks like when we fold it up. Really simple stuff. There's just one pin that we need to pull out to be able to fold it up. That's right here. So we're gonna have to kind of lift up on it a little bit. I found to be a little bit easier. Get that out of that hole. The nice thing about it is we don't really have to worry about losing it because it is attached. That is good because I lose everything. So having it attached to the bike racks is nice. I like it. And now we can go ahead and tilt it up. It stops itself in place, and then we can just replace that pin. Again, kind of just shaking it back and forth. Get it to fit real nice. Now, we are good. Let's go ahead and do some measurements to see how tall this thing's going to be in the 4 bike configuration. I'm going to measure from the shank down low, the bottom of it, to the top of the wheel cradle. And that's going to be about 44.5 inches tall from the shank to right here. But let's just go ahead and measure it. Let's just see what it would be if we only had the 2. So I'm going to measure from the shank to the top of that wheel cradle. And it's going to be about 2 feet. So be mindful of that. We're not really having a whole lot of issues. We will be able to see it through our back glass on our Jeep Compass here. But depending on what kind of cars you drive, that's just going to depend if we're going to have a little bit of vision skewed in our back glass. As you can see, the width is pretty wide. On our Compass here, we are kind of blocking the taillights a little bit. Not a whole lot, but enough. So let's just go ahead and see how wide it's going to be. About 60 inches. So be mindful of that. If you guys plan on having the 4 bike configuration and then keeping it on here when you guys are driving, we might have a little bit of issues seeing our taillights, but with just the 2 bike configuration, it doesn't really get high enough for our Compass here to actually cause any issues. But all that just depends on what kind of cars you guys plan on putting it on. Both the 4 and the 2 bike configuration is going to be made of a steel construction, giving us about 45 pounds per bike. As of right now, this is about 86 pounds, which is very, very heavy. But obviously, as we take the extension off, it's going to get a little lighter. But both different configurations are going to have the same accommodations for your bikes, depending on either the 4 or the 2. So let's go over that. With the wheel cradles, we are going to have an adjustment, as we went over before, just by loosening this little knob over there. And we're going to be able to fit a wheel diameter of about 20 to 29 inches with the wheel cradle here. About 15 to 51 inches of wheelbase. So that's pretty much how long our bikes can be before we run into any issues there. We are going to have a limitation when it comes to the bike height. So with the lower mount here, when it's all the way maxed out to the bottom, we are going to need to have a height of our bike frame about 14 inches, and then the top hook is going to be about 2 feet of frame height. So just be mindful of that, and that's going to be universal between both the 4 and the 2 bike rack configurations. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this section off just to make it the 2 bike configuration. All we really need is 2 tools. They come with the kit, which is great. This one out front is extremely easy, very simple. It doesn't have any Loctite or anything on it, so it makes it pretty simple and easy to take off. This one here, it's got Loctite on it, so it's going to be a little bit harder to undo, and it takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll pull this extension off. Now that we've removed a couple of those bolts, we can go ahead and just take the extension off. You guys can put that wherever you want. One thing that does come with the kit is a little end cap. Whenever we're done, put that on there. It's just going to help all that water and moisture from getting on the inside of our center mast there. So this is what it looks like with the extension off. Nothing changes really. The only thing that changes is just the fact that we can only carry 2 bikes instead of 4 bikes. We still have the locks. We still have all the features we went over in the video. One thing I noticed, we are not obstructing the view of our license plate with just the 2. So that's kind of a plus. If you guys ran into issues before, taking that extension out definitely helps it. And it really helps the weight too. It's only going to be about 52 pounds as it sits here. And with the 2 bike configuration, we're really not adding a whole lot of length to our vehicle. So let's go ahead and measure from the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost point, which is going to be the wheel cradle. It's going to be about 33 inches. And at that 33-inch point, we're going to have the same ground clearance of about 18 inches. So it's going to be a lot less likely that we're going to bottom this thing out. But for those aggressively steep driveways you may be driving up, it's definitely something to think about. Again, all we really need to use this bike rack is a 2-inch hitch receiver, whether it's just on our motorhome or on our vehicle. That is a requirement with this bike rack. But one thing I really like about it is the fact that it does come with an anti-rattle bolt, and that is going to pretty much just secure the shank onto the inside of our hitch receiver, taking out all that shake and play so your bikes don't feel that as much as they should. And as you guys can see here, locking core, so we lock our nice bike rack to the hitch, so whenever you guys are traveling, you don't have to worry about it running off on you. And that is going to be key to like with the frame hooks up top. So now let's just go ahead and show you how good this anti-rattle bolt works. We've got our 4 bikes loaded and took it over some bumps, and from the looks of it, it seems to be pretty secure and stable. The bikes are moving a little bit, but not too much, but some movement is expected with such a large carrier. And that's going to do it for a look at the Swagman Quad 2+2 2-bike and 4-bike platform style rack.